From a very young age, there's a certain group of people who are exposed to a completely different way of seeing the world. It's not something they read in a book or hear in a lecture, it's something they live. While most kids grow up being taught to follow the rules, work hard, and chase approval, the elite are raised inside a totally different reality, one where the world doesn't happen to you, it happens through you. They're not trained to hustle or panic. They're not rewarded for scrambling or stressing. Instead, they're taught, often without words, to see life as a mirror. Not metaphorically. Literally. A mirror that reflects not what you do, but who you are on the inside. It doesn't start with school books or tests. It starts with the energy in the house. The way emotions are handled. The level of awareness in the room. They watch their parents not react to the outside world, but respond from an inner place of alignment. And as they grow, they learn that what they feel, focus on, and believe internally, that's what shapes the world outside. It's not an accident. It's a system. And while most people are programmed to fight, fix, and fear their way through life, these individuals are taught to reflect, align, and receive. You weren't given this lens growing up. Not because it isn't real, but because people who truly understand it can't be controlled. Once you see the world as a mirror, you stop trying to conquer everything out there and start changing everything in here. Because what if, and just sit with this for a second, what if every challenge, every win, every person who walks into your life is simply reflecting back a signal you're unconsciously sending out? That's the mirror principle. It's not about belief systems or self-help slogans. It's about how reality actually functions, whether you know it or not. Before we get into how this mechanism works, there's one thing you've got to do first: unlearn what you thought life was. You've been taught that your world is random, messy, and out of your control. But it's not. It's responsive. Every argument, every blessing, every breakdown, it's not chaos. It's communication. Your reality is intelligent. It's listening. And more importantly, it's echoing you. You see, most people grow up trying to change the mirror. They try to rearrange what they see on the outside. Clean it up. Adjust the lighting. Complain about how unfair it all looks. But that's like yelling at your reflection to smile while you're still frowning. It doesn't work. Because the mirror, just like reality, isn't creative. It doesn't generate. It just reflects. To really get this, you have to understand the different parts of who you are. On the surface, there's the physical self, your body, your identity, your story. But deeper than that, there's the mental realm, where your thoughts live. And deeper still, there's the spiritual realm, where your emotions reside. These are not just poetic ideas, they're the templates that shape your world. Your thoughts and emotions are constantly broadcasting, like a radio station sending out a signal. And what you see around you, that's the reception. Not judgment. Not punishment. Just the universe bouncing back whatever you're putting out. If your life feels exhausting, maybe your spirit is worn out. If it feels chaotic, maybe your mind is cluttered. The mirror doesn't lie. It doesn't hate you. It doesn't bless you. It just reflects you. Science is catching up to what mystics have known forever: matter is mostly energy. In fact, atoms, the building blocks of everything physical, are over 99.9999% empty space. The solid world? It's more illusion than substance. And the glue holding it all together? Consciousness. Nobel physicist Max Planck once said, "I regard consciousness as fundamental. I regard matter as derivative from consciousness." In other words, what you think and feel, it matters. Literally. Your inner state is shaping the structure of your outer experience. So when you imagine abundance, when you genuinely feel joy or love or peace, you're not just having a nice moment. You're placing in order. You're uploading a blueprint into the quantum field, and that blueprint is what life starts to build around you. The big mistake most people make? They think they have to do everything in the physical world to see change. They take action from a place of stress, fear, or lack, thinking it'll fix things. But if the internal signal is stormy, no external action will bring peace. Change starts within. Always. People understand cause and effect when it's obvious. You turn the key, the engine starts. You yell at someone, they yell back. But most don't realize that the real causes, the ones that shape the big picture of your life, are invisible. They're your thoughts. Your unspoken beliefs. The emotions you sit with day after day. That's where reality begins. The physical world is just the final product, not the starting point. So if your life isn't reflecting what you want, don't panic. Just remember, you're not seeing the results of today's mood. You're seeing the results of your consistent internal state, the one you've been broadcasting for weeks, months, even years. And here's the part that trips people up. There's a delay. You plant a seed today, a thought, a feeling, a vision, and it doesn't bloom instantly. It needs time. Time to take root. Time to grow strong enough to break the surface. Because physical reality moves slowly. Much slower than your thoughts or emotions. In a world addicted to instant gratification, this delay feels frustrating. But it's actually a blessing. It protects us. If every fleeting negative thought created instant chaos, we'd all be in trouble. The delay gives you room to change, refine, and choose. Think of it like sculpting. You don't hit the marble once and see a statue. It's tap after tap, day after day, until the image emerges. That's how your thoughts and feelings shape your life, not in one big moment, but in a series of small, intentional vibrations. If something in your life isn't working, it's not proof that you're doing it wrong. It's a call to keep going. To stay in alignment. To keep tuning your inner world until the outer one catches up. Because it will catch up. That's the law. The mirror always reflects. The only question is, what are you consistently showing it? The people who live in alignment with this understanding, they don't chase. They don't force. They trust. They know that if they hold the vision, if they stay in the elevated state, the mirror has to change. They don't panic when results take time. They don't rip up the roots because they haven't seen the flowers yet. They water the vision. They believe in the process. And that belief? It builds momentum. And momentum is what turns dreams into things. In the bigger picture of life, most people mistake the role they play for who they really are. They get so caught up in their job, their identity, their daily struggles, that they forget there's a deeper part of them that's watching it all. They react to what's happening, feel limited by their circumstances, and believe that what shows up in their life is all there is. But the truth is, there's another layer to your awareness, a deeper presence that's not the character in the story, but the one holding the controller. That part of you sees the full map. It knows where the character is, where they've been, and where they're headed. It's not bound by the drama of the moment or the role you're playing. It's the player, not the avatar. And until you reconnect with that awareness, you're stuck in reaction mode, living in loops, blaming circumstances, and forgetting that you're the one writing the script. That's when the mirror principle really starts to click, when you begin living from that player perspective. When you stop reacting to the screen of life and start consciously shaping it. When you realize that thoughts aren't random noise, they're steering the ship. That emotions aren't just reactions, they're signals you can tune. From the player's view, life looks totally different. You stop fighting every glitch in the game and start learning how to navigate it. You see patterns. You understand timing. You start using the rules instead of being ruled by them. The elite are taught this early on. While others are memorizing the rules, they're being shown how to question them. While most are immersed in the scene, they're guided backstage to see how the whole set is built. They know life isn't just about reacting to what happens. It's about aligning with what you want and letting the reflection catch up. This is not just some spiritual idea, this is practical power. When you move from the seat of the player, the game changes. The world doesn't just happen to you anymore, it starts responding to you. The timing of things begins to line up. People, opportunities, even random encounters seem to show up with purpose. Why? Because your frequency is clearer. Your signal is stronger. You're no longer broadcasting confusion, doubt, and fear. You're sending out clarity, confidence, and direction. And life, being the mirror it is, responds. The character you're playing may still go through tough moments, but now it's happening with intention. You're not just enduring chaos, you're guiding transformation. That's the difference between surviving life and designing it. Now here's where it gets tricky. A lot of people try to shift into this mindset, but they get discouraged fast. They think, okay, I changed my attitude, I visualized abundance, I tried to feel better, but nothing happened. That's because they're expecting the mirror to respond instantly. But the mirror doesn't reflect your momentary state. It reflects your sustained state. Imagine standing in front of a mirror and smiling for 2 seconds. Nothing changes. So you frown again. Now the mirror reflects that. You get frustrated, confused, and decide the whole thing doesn't work. But the mirror isn't broken. It's just waiting. Waiting for you to hold that smile long enough for the reflection to catch up. That's how reality works. It's not judging you. It's not ignoring you. It's just measuring your consistency. The elite know this. That's why they keep smiling, energetically speaking, even when nothing around them seems to support it yet. They know the reflection is slow, but inevitable. And they trust that if they keep showing up in alignment, life has no choice but to mirror that back. So while everyone else gives up after a week of trying, they stay with the vision. They stay with the feeling. They stay with the inner frequency until the outer world catches up. And it always does. Because energy builds. Persistence compounds. And eventually, the shift becomes undeniable. You see, transformation doesn't happen because you had one good day. It happens because you became a different frequency over time. You didn't just dip into abundance, you embodied it. And when that happens, the mirror doesn't have a choice. It has to reflect the new you. The challenge is, we live in a culture obsessed with speed. We want results now. Feedback now. Validation now. But the deeper you go into this work, the more you realize speed isn't the goal. Alignment is. Because real change isn't fast. It's rooted. It's stable. It holds up over time. Think about nature. Trees don't bloom overnight. Seasons don't shift in an instant. Everything in the natural world follows cycles, rhythms, and timing. And so does your life. You're not behind. You're becoming. Every time you return to that elevated inner state, even for a few minutes, you're reinforcing the blueprint. You're sending another signal. You're adding another layer to the sculpture. And eventually, what was once just an idea becomes visible. But only if you hold the signal long enough for reality to respond. Mastery of this principle isn't about being perfect. It's about being aware. Being intentional. You don't have to obsess over every thought. You don't have to fake joy all day. But you do have to notice what you're broadcasting. You do have to stop reacting unconsciously. Because every thought carries weight. Every emotion carries a code. And if you're not choosing them on purpose, you're creating by default. That's where awareness comes in. Wake yourself up. When you feel yourself spiraling into old thought patterns, pause. Breathe. Reconnect with the player. Ask, is this the signal I want to send? And if not, shift it. Not with force, but with presence. One of the fastest ways to shift is through appreciation. Not forced gratitude, not pretending everything is great when it's not, but finding something to be genuinely thankful for. A breath. A laugh. A memory. A moment of peace. Appreciation rewires your signal. It tunes you back to a clearer frequency. It opens the channel. And once that channel's open, better reflections start showing up. Movement helps too. Not just metaphorically, physically. A stagnant body often mirrors a stagnant mind. So move. Walk. Stretch. Dance. Get into a new rhythm. Shake off the stuck energy. Because what you do with your body affects what you feel in your mind. And what you feel in your mind affects what shows up in your life. As within, so without. As without, so within. What you send out is what comes back. Not because the universe is rewarding you, but because it matches you. You don't get what you want. You get what you are. That's the hidden truth the elite have always known. That's the code that was never taught in school. When you change the inner world, you don't have to beg life to change. You don't have to hustle it into submission. You just command from a different frequency. And the mirror, your reality, responds. Because now, it's not your enemy. It's your servant. Once you start living from that deeper awareness, from the seat of the player, and you understand how your energy gets reflected back to you, there's one more layer to master: consistency. And this is where most people fall off. They get excited about the mirror principle. They try it for a few days. They even feel better, lighter. But then life throws a challenge at them, or things don't change as fast as they expected, and suddenly they're back to old patterns. Doubt creeps in. Frustration grows. And the mirror? It simply goes back to reflecting that. But remember, the mirror doesn't reflect your bursts of positivity. It reflects your foundation. The sustained frequency you hold day after day, that's what reality responds to. Think of the mirror like a camera with a long exposure. It doesn't snap a photo of one moment. It records the average of everything you've been emitting over time. So if your inner state is fluctuating wildly, excited one day, hopeless the next, the reflection will be blurry, unstable. But when your internal signal is steady, consistent, elevated, even in the face of delays, the reflection becomes clear, aligned, undeniable. That's why true transformation isn't about hype or motivation. It's about discipline. Not the rigid, grind until you bleed kind of discipline, but energetic discipline. Moment-to-moment awareness. Catching yourself before you spiral. Choosing to return to clarity. Again. And again. And again. That's where mastery lives. Not in the peaks, but in the return. So many people ask, how do I stay in a high vibration when life is falling apart? The answer isn't pretending everything's fine. It's finding a deeper part of you that is fine, the observer, the awareness, the player, and moving from that place. It's not about ignoring reality. It's about realizing that reality is a lagging indicator, a reflection. And if you want the next version of it to look different, you have to show up now as the person who's already aligned with that version. Even if your bank account says otherwise. Even if the relationship isn't here yet. Even if your body doesn't feel how you want it to feel. Because the mirror can't shift until you do. And not for a second. But for real. Consistently. This is where patience becomes a superpower. Not passive waiting. Not hoping. But active trust. Holding the frequency when nothing around you validates it. Smiling into the mirror when it hasn't smiled back yet. That's energetic leadership. And the universe rewards that. Not because it's watching or judging, but because it matches. It reflects. And once your new frequency becomes stronger than the old one, the reflection flips. It has to. Because reality is not random. It's responsive. It's obedient. It's law. And the law is simple: you don't get what you want. You get what you embody. If you want love, be love. If you want abundance, become abundance. Not through words or wishful thinking, but through how you feel, how you think, how you move. That's the secret the elite were taught. That's the difference between people who create their lives and people who just react to them. And you don't have to be born into wealth or privilege to learn this. You just have to practice. You just have to remember, again and again, that your world is a mirror. Not an accident. Not a punishment. A reflection. When things go wrong, ask, What am I broadcasting? When things go right, ask, how did I align with this? Make the inner world your lab. Make every thought an experiment. Make every emotion a choice. Because you are not powerless. You are not broken. You are not at the mercy of what shows up around you. You are the cause. You are the broadcaster. You are the one holding the brush, even if you've been painting unconsciously. The moment you realize this, everything changes. Not because your world suddenly flips, but because you do. And once you change, the world doesn't stand a chance. It has to follow. That's the design. That's the code. So don't wait for the reflection to smile. Smile first. Don't wait for evidence to believe. Believe first. Don't wait for the world to show up different. Show up different first. And then, let the mirror catch up. Let the world bend. Let it shift to reflect the frequency you now live from. Because it will. It always does. That's not wishful thinking. That's law. But here's one last thing to remember. This isn't about perfection. You're going to have off days. You'll doubt. You'll fall into old patterns. That's okay. Just don't stay there. Don't make a home in a frequency that doesn't serve you. Use your awareness like a compass. When you drift, realign. When you forget, remember. When you fall, rise. Again. That's mastery. Not never falling, but always rising. Because now you know. Now you see. The mirror doesn't punish you. It teaches you. Every distorted reflection is a message. Come back to center. Every delay is a test. Do you trust what you've become? Every challenge is a sculptor. Will you hold the shape you've chosen? And when you do, when you hold that elevated frequency long enough, the reflection can't help but shift. Slowly at first. Then all at once. Because reality has no power to resist your alignment. It only responds to it. That's why awareness is everything. You're always broadcasting. Always shaping. Always sculpting reality through what you're being. Not what you're doing. Not what you're saying. But what you are. The elite don't chase outcomes. They align with them. They don't beg the mirror to change. They become the version of themselves that would naturally see that change, and then they wait. Not with desperation, but with certainty. Not with panic, but with presence. That's the life you step into when you master the mirror principle. Not a perfect life. Not a life without challenge. But a life where you are the author. A life where what shows up is a direct match to what you become. And when you truly live this way, you stop fighting your reality. You start co-creating it. You don't force. You don't beg. You align. And life, the mirror, the field, the reflection, bows in response. Because it must. That's the law. That's the design. And now, that's your power.